Sorry about that. So I got the call and I didn't know whether to take it because I really didn't want to interrupt this video. So I went out of the app and it stopped the recording anyway. So I suppose I have no choice now. Now it's just a case of finding out where I was talking about what I was talking about. So I was talking about how you shouldn't always trust your assumptions because you're not always the kind of person who can make the perfect assumption about every scenario. And in terms of the perfect thing to say during sales, I was not the kind of person who could come up with something to say, and therefore I said that clearly brutally wrong thing from his astonished reaction. So, yeah, I suppose that it was kind of just an assumption I made from watching YouTube a few months back, but it was kind of a less evolved experience version of myself that was copying what that was being said there. That was a pretty obvious thing to go wrong on. Now this is a slightly less obvious thing to go on wrong on, but I think it ended up far worse for me in the long run. Even though the sale thing would have ended up worse had I not said it to that guy. But basically, I left my shoes at home, so I trusted my instinct in picking the right shoes to wear at the hotel. And then when I was at the hotel, my manager said, "Hi, Michael, how are you doing?" And I said, "Good." And he looked down briefly and said, why are you not wearing the right shoes?" And I look down, and I'm just thinking, oh, for flip's sake, like, really? I really just put on my sneakers instead of the actual hotel shoes. And then then I said, "Sorry, I must have put on the wrong shoes" to him. And then he said, "Yeah, that's all right." Then the director comes on a few minutes later and he says, "Oh, did what happened to your shoes?" And I said, "I forgot to put them. I put these ones on by accident instead." And then he said, "Okay, let me get some more for you." So he came back a few minutes later and gave them to me. I put them on. I spent the whole day wearing them, and it didn't seem too bad until about 4 or 5 hours into the shift when my feet started to ache, or one foot started to ache. The heel just started, like the back of the heel started getting scraped by the back of the shoe. And so I was just walking around half limping, trying to kind of avert the pain, but then I just kind of gave up and stopped because it was too inconvenient and I didn't think it would be that bad. Another assumption that I made was rather foolish. Like, I'm not trying to sound cool when I say this, but my pain tolerance physically has increased so much in the last few months because of the psychological torture I've put myself through in cold calling. Therefore, I don't realize I've been getting burnt until I'm absolutely scalded. I don't realize a shoe has been digging into my foot until it's nearly gotten to the bone, and that's kind of what happened the other day when my brain was kind of just not caring so much about how it felt because of the high pain tolerance. And that is the reason I'm currently lying like this, which you've maybe been wondering for these last few videos. And it looks pretty stupid, to be honest, but it's just something that needs to be done. The main thing to gather from this is that don't don't do stupid things. Like, I peeled off my shoe, peeled off and pulled on the sock, and it was an absolute sight to look at. It was just very unsightly. I could theoretically show you in this video, but that would be rather disgusting, and I feel like that would probably be a breach of YouTube's guidelines, even more so than something like pornography would be. So I'm not going to do that. But it's a learning lesson where you can see where you've went wrong, and don't trust your instincts all the time, because the version of you that has those instincts is like a less honed version of you than now, because you're always evolving, you're always turning into a different person. And when you're trusting the whims and assumptions of another person who doesn't have as much experience as you do, then it's not going to land you in the right place. And this isn't me saying that I'm a completely different person than a couple of freaking days ago when I put on the wrong shoe, to be honest, but by accident. But it means that now that I know that I put on the wrong shoe, and putting on the wrong shoe will lead to disastrous effects, like me not thinking for a microsecond and thinking, I should be putting on these right shoes, would have led me to be sitting right over there and working at my desk, when instead I'm here laid out like a freaking carrot on my bed, just to avoid the pain and the damage that's going to happen to my foot if I leave it down. Otherwise, my day has been fine. I did 4 sales calls today, but 3 of them didn't show up, and one of them wasn't really in a position to actually purchase my service. I'll explain more. The first one didn't show up, hadn't really scheduled anything with them at all. I tried to get back to them, I got put into voicemail. Second one, I went in, they didn't show up. I called him, he missed the call, and then he rang me back a few minutes later apologising because he left his phone in the van, and he had set his reminder on the phone. He doesn't normally leave his phone in the van, but he didn't this particular day, and it was just unlucky. We rescheduled for tomorrow. Same deal with the next call, except he didn't leave his phone in the van. He just gave no reason as to why he ghosted me. Except he was a big corporation based over in Dublin, the capital county of our country, and I assume he's probably like a millionaire or something, so it's not excusing his actions, but I know he's probably extremely busy and very stressed all the time. So there's that. We also rescheduled for Wednesday, and the last one actually showed up, but I had to contact him when he was sort of a few minutes late. But he showed up in the end, and I really appreciate that. You know, when someone shows up for you, you should appreciate that, because not everyone shows up. So, yeah, make sure you just kind of, you're grateful for that, and you ensure that people show up. Just take the right steps. Like I got one actual conversation in today. The only good thing is I actually got more meetings booked today than I actually did today. Like I got my net return for today was positive, especially considering the fact that I ended up rescheduling like half the meetings for today. So that was pretty great, to be honest. Really wasn't too bad at all. Anyway, again, appreciate you watching this. If you want to have a conversation, feel free to hit me up with a chat. You can call me as well if you want on my phone, but I'm not going to give my number, because otherwise in the future, when I'm extremely rich and extremely famous, you're all going to call me, and that will be creepy, and I'm not going to want to talk to you then, because I'll be too good for you. Anyway, see ya.